Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Unmatched AARs. Today, I'll be doing a report between a couple of what I would say are one of the top players of Unmatched, Wandering Caretaker, playing Buffy here. So you might recognize him as one of the commentators in a recent first ever official online Unmatched tournament, which I'll put a link in the description. Go watch those recordings if you haven't. It's absolutely knowledgeable and insightful commentary over some appropriately high-level gameplay, all presented with top-notch quality production values that I would argue equal some of the more established esports out there. So playing Robin Hood on the right here, it's Bryden, who was a participant in the state online tournament, and he achieved a top 3 position. So today we have a matchup, Buffy versus Robin Hood, that stemmed from a discussion in the Discord channel. So the theory is that Buffy is actually a pretty good pocket pick in certain competitive matchups. So with card wheels and Slayer strength, it could be good against heroes with multiple 1 hit point sidekicks, and her mobility of 3 and her ability to move through enemy fighters also should be a way to mitigate all these silly fighters blocking your way. So anyway, both these players, as I said, they're pretty high level, so we're going to be guaranteed a good fight here. Now, on to the matchup. A good chunk of Buffy's strength comes from the 3 insights from Giles. So Giles is arguably the better pick, according to Wandering Caretaker, because those 3 insights, they not just knock out cards from the opponent's hands, but they also change the way the opponent plays. With your knowledge of the opponent's hands, your opponent is more likely to make a mistake by playing cards too quickly or drawing cards and trying to mess up their hand. And how well you do with Buffy and Giles, it's a good indicator would be how many insights you manage to pull off before he dies. If you manage 2 and they remove decent cards from your hands, for example, Hunter's Eyes in this matchup, well, you Buffy will have a pretty decent chance of taking the match. Alright, on to the game. So Buffy starts first on Memorial, which tends to be a good map for Robin Hood, in the sense that it's very easy to cover a lot of the central spaces with the multicolored spots. On the flip side, it's quite easy for Buffy to maneuver around you or through you to hit you also. Alright. Buffy takes a first turn maneuver with a boost, with a 3 boost from training, putting Giles in a corner, and getting right up to Robin Hood's face. So typically, top flight players, they tend to be a bit more careful in their plays, especially at the start. I mean, because they know exactly what the opponent's deck has. And in this case, it is a very safe play in a sense for Buffy, because more than not, she's going to play a Daring Strike, and on Robin Hood's end, the biggest defense he can master is a 3. So short of a feint, Buffy's going to get her damage through and also draw 2 cards. Actually, Bryden also punishes this with a wily fighting. We shall see. And the first turn for Robin Hood actually sees an equally interesting daring play, if I may say so. So he takes a maneuver also. So he definitely had the option of just hitting Buffy a couple of times here and retreating, but nope. He boosts his movement with Steal from the Rich and tries to pin Giles in. And hits Giles with a disarming shot for 4. And thankfully, Buffy defended Giles with a skirmish. And with that skirmish, he goes closer to this outlaw with an eye of getting himself out of the pin the next turn. So there was supposed to be a Swift Strike there, but unfortunately it doesn't show up here. So if you're wondering why this looks a bit different from the other videos I've made, it's because the game was played on Vorpal. So I'll put a link in the description. It's an alternative if you to Tabletop Simulator. If you don't like playing Unmatched there, do check out Vorpal too. So note how Robin Hood defends with a regroup. That's to prevent Giles from cheekily trying to kill off the outlaw with another regroup. So a defensive regroup wins an offensive regroup. And you draw 2 cards too if you manage to win that. So with Swift Strike, Giles gets out. Still a little bit of danger though. So he takes another maneuver and gets out of the zone of Robin Hood. Back to Buffy here. So Buffy hits the outlaw with another damage strike, which was really taken. So it's almost like a free regroup in a sense. So Buffy has the card advantage here. But Robin Hood, I mean, on top of his mobility, he's known for his card draw too. So it shouldn't take much for him to catch up. Here we see just minor skirmishes going on. But note the movement of Robin Hood. He's carefully positioning himself to once again try to box Giles in. And note the careful placement of Giles also. So he as far as I can tell, Wandering Caretaker plays Buffy here. Plays Giles here so that Buffy can come in to block Robin Hood off. So even though Robin Hood is ranged, he's going to have difficulty trying to hit Giles. That was a favorable exchange for Buffy. So Mr. Pointy into a feint. 3 points of damage to Robin Hood. So note the very smart placement also. Even though Robin Hood is ranged, he can't hit Giles. He has to use the outlaw. Painted away a highway robbery on Giles. So at this point, you'll get a sense that Buffy is actually on a bit of an advantage here. He's been getting the most out of interactions, good damage strikes, some solid damage through to Robin Hood. And a lot of it is due to the positioning. I think at this point there was a disconnect, so I'm just going to speed through here a little bit. All right. And well, since we have a little bit of intermission, I'd like to give a shout out to Unmatched Board Game Fan on Instagram. So what he does is that he puts out very nice pictures of Unmatched figures, and he also does a lot of his own custom content. So do follow him on Instagram. I'll also put a link in the description. So his recent series he has been doing is that he has a featured character, and he gets interviews from well-known players or even from the publishers on tips on how to play the characters. So yep, check out Unmatched Board Game Fan. Alright, back here. I think Bryden should be connecting back soon. Okay, and here he continues to try to put up the pressure on Giles. And here I think I wouldn't say it's a big mistake, but there was a win from Giles in this. There was a win for Robin Hood because he highway robbery a skirmish. So skirmish was effectively wasted as both a defense and also potentially a future offense from Buffy. Because one thing about Buffy is that although she has pretty good offensive options from Mr. Pointy to all that, she actually doesn't have that much big, large hitting cards. So every point of damage that she can get through, such as through skirmish, it's important. You're going to be expecting to use some of her versatile cards as offenses or as offenses as well. So not how Buffy carefully keeps Robin Hood away from Giles. This expert zone placement. There we see the third daring strike. Putting Buffy at a card advantage. Really putting the pressure on Robin Hood. It's getting a bit dangerous for Robin Hood. Lost almost half his health. And here we see actually one of the critical moments in the play. So realizing that he was on the back foot, Bryden actually boosted his movement with a disarming shot to get Robin Hood up to Giles. And hits him with a Hunter's Eye, completely taking him out. So this is quite critical because firstly, only one insight has been played so far. And taking Giles out this early means also that he can no longer be used as a kind of body block for a bodyguard for Buffy. So you might think that this is not important because Robin is a ranged character. But as you can see, in the hands of a good player, such as Wandering Caretaker, that little dance between these special zones can be repeated at other corners too. So if you know how to play a position, you can negate the opponent's range power if you have a sidekick. So I'd like to actually talk a bit more about this moment. And you can really see the difference between, well, top players and probably a more average player like myself. So if for me personally at this point, I would actually try to put as much damage as I can onto Buffy. So you see Robin Hood, he invested two very high value cards, high attack cards, 5 and a 4, on trying to just get rid of Giles. But the thing is that I would have actually preferred to use this on Buffy herself, because even if he can get rid of the two future insights, you are still in effect wasting 2 cards here. So what you're losing is, well, not just your offensive power, but also some momentum. Now, according to Bryden, he says if he didn't take up Giles at this point, he would 100% have lost the game, because insights are really that strong. Because not only do they knock out cards, but they also give the opponent knowledge on your hand. And number 2, with Wandering Caretakers, as I said, very smart positioning of his sidekick and Buffy herself. he can really prevent Robin Hood from landing hits when he really needs to. So now we see Buffy on the back foot. So Robin Hood getting a bit more cautious. But Buffy puts up the pressure. He has 6 cards to 2. Painting away a swift strike. So Bryden reads this perfectly actually. So he saw that Buffy actually played a swift strike with the intention of wanting to run away. So he knows that most likely Buffy doesn't really have that many good defenses in hand. So the next turn he took a maneuver and attack, which Buffy could only defend with a cartwheel kick. Still takes another point of damage though. And Buffy continues to keep up the pressure. But this is when we can see the oppressiveness of Robin Hood and his outlaws really coming into play. Defenders of Sherwood slowly but surely bringing back a couple of the outlaws and making it very difficult for Buffy to get to Robin Hood too. So note the so even though Buffy was also doing the very good positioning with Giles, Bryden can play the same game too. So look at this positioning by Robin Hood. He purposely plays Robin Hood 3 spaces away so that even though Buffy can go through his fighters, if he wants to hit Robin Hood, he has to discard one of his cards for boost to appear behind. So all these are all very carefully calculated positions. All right. Another win for Robin Hood here with a highway robbery, wasting away a point of healing. All right. So he did have to use a boost to keep up the pressure on Robin Hood. So Slayer Strength dealing another point of damage to Robin Hood. And through the skillful position also. Note how Robin Hood never opens himself out to a Slayer Strength that can take out multiples of his outlaws and also himself. Always very careful with the positioning. See, look at this positioning again. Buffy has to boost herself to get to the other side. And here is critical moment number 2 in the game. Robin Hood lands an ambush onto Buffy, and Buffy defended with a cartwheel kick, even though she had a Slayer Strength in her hand. So the problem with this is that, well, this discards the Slayer Strength, which is Strength 3. So not only would she take 3 points of damage, but if she had defended with Slayer Strength, this would have also killed this quite pretty easily. Oh, sorry, it wasn't Robin Hood who landed attack. Actually, it was this outlaw that ambushed Buffy. So the critical mistake was not just using Slayer Strength here, because if he had used Slayer Strength, he wouldn't have taken 3 damage, and he would have still killed the outlaw here. But alas, wasted. Very strong defense. And he's down 3 hit points. So Buffy's now kind of on the back foot. Although she has doubled the hit points of Robin Hood at this point, it's going to be quite difficult for her to land the last few points of damage. So no cards in hand. Both start to rebuild the hand a little bit. Buffy desperately trying to find an angle. But with Robin Hood's full hand, it's going to be quite difficult. Another ambush. So this I would say is critical mistake number 3, because with a feint in hand, he could have totally negated this ambush from Robin Hood. But he tried to heal himself, and this actually discarded the feint also. So this was pretty painful. So imagine if he had feinted that ambush away, he could have still tried to get 1 point of healing and also use that as an additional offense or defense. Buffy desperately trying to find options again by drawing more. Note both are pretty low on cards also, so piercing shot is used to boost Robin Hood into an attack onto Buffy. Hunter's Eye into a Slayer Strength. Not ideal, because with Slayer Strength, you would always want to try to be able to do 1 damage in return if you are defending. Mr. Pointy into another Defenders of Sherwood. More damage onto Buffy. She's out of cards and she starts having to eat lots of damage. So do note how Robin Hood is also at a very dangerous point in the game. He only has 2 hit points left. And in theory, Buffy had still had a chance to win, even though he had only a few cards left in deck. So if I'm not wrong, Buffy only had a couple of regroups. But alas, he was not able to finish Robin Hood off. Because at this point, Robin Hood didn't really have much defenses left already. So if only Buffy had one of these regroups in his hand at the start, he would have been able to attack, hopefully draw the other regroup, and then attack again, finishing off Robin Hood. Oh. And that's the game of Buffy versus Robin Hood. So as you can see, Buffy doesn't hold such a big advantage over Robin Hood. Both of these players, if they know how to position well, they can kind of negate the advantage of each other's characters. So Buffy still has to play very carefully. Critical mistakes can still lose you the game. And for Robin Hood, you have to be very smart with your outlaws positioning and be very aware of Slayer strengths and cartwheel kicks. And of course, pick risky plays when you have them. So one of the most critical moments was when he used disarming shot to boost Robin Hood all the way and finish off Giles with a Hunter's Eye. Right, and that's it for today's AR. See you in the next one.